Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. A Heart of Ice and Ash. Last episode. Chapter 158. Kai POV. I guide Winter through the hallways and corridors of the castle, my hand lightly pressed against her back, as we make our way toward the hospital wing of the castle. She's quiet, timid looking with big scared eyes, her hand on her stomach unconsciously. She looks anxious and I don't really blame her. I'm anxious too, anxious about being a father, about being a better mate, about all the thoughts constantly going through my head. Storm on the other hand. Ooh, we're going to have a baby, a little pup to play with. You don't play with babies, Storm. Says who? Oh, I hope they have my eyes, or my fur. I want baby girls, that look like Winter. I would have thought you would want boys, Storm, you surprise me. Winter's so lovely, I just want miniature versions of her to love as well. But if it's a boy then I won't complain. Besides, I want lots and lots of pups. I want Winter's belly to be swollen all the time. I think she might have something to say about that. Yet, 'cause you haven't put a ring on it yet. Damn the mutt. He was infuriating, but I could picture a miniature version of Winter in my mind's eye and my heart just about melts at the thought. I glance over at Winter but it's impossible to see what she's thinking. We're met at the door by a doctor in a white coat and a lovely smile. He's tall, clearly a vampire, with spectacles and long brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. His green eyes are gleaming with humor. I like him instantly, Winter seeming to relax as she smiles at the young man as well. You must be Winter and Kai, the doctor says heartily, reaching out to shake our hands. I'm Dr. Romero. Prince Jasper informed me you would be coming, he said mysteriously as I frowned. How did he get the message to the doctors so quick? I feel like an fool when I notice the cell phone attached. Of course Prince Jasper had called the man or messaged him. I was a special kind of stupid, as Storm relished telling me. Come in, the doctor urged, leading us to some wooden doors. He opened them with a flourish and tentatively, Winter stepped inside first, her eyes wide as she took in the room. I followed right behind, impressed to see a room with a comfortable bed and an ultrasound machine, a blood pressure machine and a few other ones I didn't recognize. Now if you'll just lie down on the bed, said the doctor. My name is Dr. Romero and I am here to tend to you. Now if I understand correctly, you believe you might be pregnant. Winter gives a slow nod and slowly climbs on the bed, lying down looking awkward. I come over to her side and take her shaking hand. What symptoms have you been experiencing? Asked Dr. Romero as he checked over the machine, his tone absent-minded. Well, I've been feeling nauseous a lot, Winter begins, and lately I've started vomiting. I get a little lightheaded at times and just feel a bit off. Well, those can be symptoms of pregnancy, Dr. Romero comments as I continue to hold Winter's hand tightly, but let's have a check and see for certain. He wheels the impressive-looking machine over. Winter tenses and I squeeze her hand in reassurance, giving her a small smile, my own heart hammering wildly in my chest. This was it, this was the moment, where we would find out for certain if we are going to be parents. Nothing was going to prepare me for this, nothing was going to ruin it. Then Storm chimed in. Come on, what's taking so long? Let's get this show on the road. Is it true they aren't any bigger than a peanut in the beginning? Like how does that work? The head would be so tiny. Minuscule even. Ooh, what if it's like a little wolf cub sleeping? Wouldn't that be awesome? I swear Storm has no common sense, but he's just as excited as we are. Gel will be cold, warns Dr. Romero as he places it on the probe. Winter stays still, her eyes watching his every move, a small smile on her face. She looks happy, or at least a tiny bit excited. I have no clue how she feels about the whole pregnancy thing, whether she wants it or not, but a smile is a good sign, isn't it? He places the probe on her stomach as she pulls up her shirt and pulls down her pants slightly, with his instructions, exposing the smooth creamy skin. I hear her suck in a breath and surmise it's due to the coldness of the gel, despite the doctor's warning about it. All right now, try to lay still, there might be a bit of pressure as I push down on the probe, Dr. Romero says softly, his eyes intent on the screen now, his lips curled. There's the slightest bit of stubble on the man's face. Did he forget to shave this morning? Or has the poor pulled an all-nighter and was doing this as a favor to the prince? Now then, both of you are hybrids? Is that right? Half vampire and half shifter. We are, I say gruffly, and the Dr. raises his eyebrows for a moment, looking lost in thought. At the time of conception, were you both hybrids? He asks somewhat delicately. Winter shakes her head. No, only I was, she says quietly, looking a bit apprehensive. Dr. Romero smiles reassuringly at her. It's fine, my dear. I have to ask these questions, that's all. It's highly likely your child, if you are pregnant, will be a hybrid as well. I just want you to be prepared for that fact. Winter pales, biting her lip but nodding. I stare at the monitor, almost willing there to be a perfect picture of a baby on the screen as Dr. Romero adjusts the angles and moves a little further down on Winter's stomach. Are you wanting a large family? Asked Dr. Romero. Winter and I glanced at each other with questioning eyes. I don't know, she says softly, it's not something I've really thought too much about. I guess I would like a few children, maybe 3, she says, looking over at me. I would like maybe 3 or 4, I admit, loving the thought of being surrounded by children, Winter's pregnant belly a beautiful vision in my mind. But in the end, the decision is entirely Winter's. She's the one who has to go through the pregnancies after all. She deserves to have the final say, I add respectfully. The doctor gives a small nod in approval. Storm gives a huff in my mind. If he had his way, Winter would never stop giving birth to his pups. Even if it was not realistic. Ah, says Dr. Romero, fixating on something on the screen. He pushes his spectacles up his nose with one finger, peering intently at the screen. I feel slightly panicked. Was something wrong? How would we know if our child was a hybrid? Was there some sort of test for that? God, what did I know about being a father? Or being paternal? I was a downright rotten mate, and I would most likely stuff the child up somehow. My heart was beating so loudly, I was sure the doctor could hear it, judging by the way he gave me a sidelong glance. Winter is on edge, glancing anxiously at the screen and at the doctor, who appears to be looking for something, lost in thought, moving the probe almost absent-mindedly. Well, you are pregnant, my dear, says Dr. Romero kindly, not far along though, a few weeks at most. I would estimate you have at least 6 months to go before giving birth, the baby being most likely a hybrid. Winter's eyes well with tears, but she gives me a shaky smile, as Dr. Romero pulls the probe off and begins to wipe down her stomach with a towel. He points to another door in the room. The bathroom is through there. The gel is sticky, so if you want to clean up a little more, he suggests. Winter hops up and goes straight towards it, while I sit there feeling stupefied. I couldn't believe it. In a few short months I would be holding a baby in my arms. My child and Winter's. It boggled the mind. Storm, however, was smug, wanting to brag about his pup to everyone in the pack. The doctor cleans off the probe and replaces it back in the machine, wheeling it to the far corner of the room while I hear the sounds of running water coming from the bathroom. Then it stops and the door opens, Winter coming back out and sitting on the bed. "What now?" she asks Dr. Romero. He gives us a warm smile. "As a hybrid, it means that you need to eat to make sure the baby receives the right nutrients. That means drinking blood as well as eating normal food." So far, so good. That didn't sound too hard. Dr. Romero continues, "I want Winter to get plenty of rest. So sleeping as much as possible during the night, during the day take it easy. Because it's a hybrid, there is a higher chance of miscarriage, so I want you to be careful. If there's any signs of bleeding, you come to me or to the hospital at your pack immediately, don't wait. But if you do, take it easy, no shifting either," he warns her. "Then everything should be fine. Try to avoid anything stressful, and if others can do things for you, then let them. I'm not saying become a complete invalid, by any means, but avoid exercising except for gentle walks. You must take good care of yourself, in order to have healthy children as well." We nodded, listening to his every word, drinking it in. He rummaged through the pockets of his coat and thrust a card at Winter. "My phone number is listed on this. If you have any questions at all," he says a little gruffly, "call, at any time. I am more than happy to help in any way I can. In a few weeks' time, I suggest another ultrasound to check out the gender and ensure everything is going well and nicely. We could do that at the hospital at the pack," I thought, mentally filing that away in my mind. Dr. Romero thrust a brochure at Winter, which she grabbed hold of and began to scan. There are certain foods that should be avoided, much like human pregnancies. There's also a lot of foods in that brochure that should be included. Man, this was more complex than I thought. I was frantically trying to wrap my head around everything, Winter handing the brochure to me to peruse. "Do either of you have any questions?" asked Dr. Romero. I was stumped. I knew I'd have a million the second I walked out of that room, but being put on the spot meant I couldn't think of a single one. I ignored Storm's snickering in the back of my mind. "I guess then, let me be the first to offer my congratulations to you both," Dr. Romero says, his eyes twinkling. "There's probably one other thing I should let you know. I wonder what it is." A huge smile spreads on the man's face. "I'm glad that you both said you wanted multiple children at least," he says, "because otherwise this would have been really awkward." He chuckles and shakes his head. "But it looks like you are having twins. Isn't that lucky?" he crows while my jaw drops open in disbelief. Twins? Had the doctor really said the word twins? I begin to shake, Winter going paler than before. The doctor just grins and walks to the doors. I'll leave you two to digest it, he comments, sidling out. Without another word, I find myself slithering to the floor and Winter's face peering over at me anxiously. Twins, I repeat. Twins, confirms Winter as I stay there on the ground. Can you believe it? Oh, I could believe it all right. After all, she had twin brothers. Storm begins to cackle as I stay there, unable to believe that my life was going to become extremely chaotic in a few months' time, with not one but two babies to take care of. Kai, says Winter in a small voice, I'm scared. That made two of us. King Axel POV. She was so quiet as we made our way into the study, Prince Jasper ushering the both of us in with a wide smile, his parents nowhere to be seen. I frown, puzzled. I was certain the king and queen would want to be present for this discussion and treaty, but it appeared that Prince Jasper was to be in charge. Not that I have a problem with that, it just surprised me, that's all. Please, sit down and take a seat, urged Prince Jasper, pointing at two comfortable armchairs in front of his rather impressive, and large, wooden study desk. I help her into her seat, before taking my own. She barely glances at me though, muttering thank you under her breath. She smells so sweet, so incredibly delicious, my mouth is watering. I can't get over the irony of finding my mate, literally not long after Vanessa's death. Was it fate? Or maybe the moon goddess had taken pity on me? Who was to say for sure? I study her out of the corner of my eye. Her hair is so long and vibrant, her eyes twinkling, even if she isn't looking straight at me, her skin a pale and yet lovely creamy color, freckles on her cheeks. She appears to be a few years younger than myself, but as a vampire she could in fact be years older. Hundreds of years. She has a lovely figure, appearing to be quite dainty, her hips sticking out slightly, her bosom rather, generous. She was stunning, glorious to behold, and most of all, she was mine. Well, this is a bit of a surprise, comments Prince Jasper, leaning back in his chair and looking quite relaxed, but I am ecstatic for you both. Sarah, I'm especially happy for you, you've been waiting for your mate for a very long time. Had she? I almost preen at the thought. She gives the prince a genuine smile and it's so beautiful it could bring tears to one's eyes. Thank you, Prince Jasper, it was a bit of a shock to me as well, she adds, and then her eyes shine straight on me, so bright it makes me blink at her. I hope that you are not disappointed at having me as a mate, I murmur to her, and she looks absolutely shocked. Of course not, she protests, it's a shock but that's all. Forgive me, I'm quite shy, she admits, hanging her head. Oh, that's not what I meant, I say quietly, I meant because I'm a werewolf. Now she looks me dead straight in the eyes. You are a very handsome man and I am delighted to have you as my mate. Are you not disappointed though? To find out your mate is a vampire and a servant girl. I shake my head. Never, I want you desperately, so does my wolf. You being a vampire makes no difference to me, nor does being a servant, I growl, I accept you as you are. She looks extremely relieved. You're not going to reject me then? She asks in a small voice. No, I exclaim, and then my eyes narrow in on her, noticing that she's trembling for the first time. She looks so frightened, so vulnerable right now. My heart skips a beat. I can't hold back, not any longer. I forget all about Prince Jasper, who's been sitting there listening with a smirk on his face, getting up and leaning over her chair as she looks at me with a hint of uncertainty. "You are beautiful, stunning, a goddess," I murmur as she blushes bright red, "and you are mine." I stroke her hair and then bend down, pressing my lips to hers. I feel like an electric shock surge through my body. Sparks flying everywhere. My hand grips the back of her neck, holding her still as I plunder her lips, my tongue insistent against them, delving inside when she willingly gives me access. I caress her tongue, touching it with my own, my lips pressed hard against her. She tastes so sweet. I hear Sarah give a loud moan. My wolf comes close to the surface as my eyes flash black. Cough, cough. The sound finally permeates my mind and I reluctantly pull back, Prince Jasper looking a bit flushed in the face. "There's plenty of time for that later," he says a bit awkwardly as I let go of Sarah's hair and settle myself back in my seat. I see that Sarah's hair is disheveled and that her face is still quite a bit pink. I give a grin of satisfaction as she continues to blush and look away. We had gotten quite carried away, I'll admit, and if it hadn't been for Prince Jasper's timely interruption, we might have even gone further. I adjust my legs and give Prince Jasper a wide smile. "Sorry about that," I say, lying. "I think we should get this business over and done with." "I think that might be wise," he says drily, glancing at both of us with a smug look on his face. "My parents have put me in charge of this so-called treaty," explains Prince Jasper. "I propose we write up this document and then have lawyers sign it, as well as witnesses." That was pretty standard protocol when it came to treaties, so I relaxed and nodded my agreement. Sarah stayed silent in the chair. "While I'm happy to propose a treaty with yourself and your pack, I will also include Winter and Kai's with your approval. I will not form a treaty with every single pack, for there are many who have not treated my people well. I can always add other packs to the treaty should I want to. Also, not much of a shocker. It would be too much to expect him to have a treaty with every single pack. Still, I was happy he was including Winter and Kai's pack in it." "That sounds fine to me," I tell him gruffly, leaning back in the chair. "I, however, propose to have a treaty with your people as a whole, when it comes to my pack and not just your pack, so to speak." Prince Jasper looks pleased. Both of us are stunned when Sarah speaks. "I think that is wise," she tells me, and I puff up my chest at her compliment, "but I would also like to see vampires visiting the packs. Not just a treaty of not hurting one another, but opening up friendships and understandings with one another. If I have found my mate and he's a werewolf, then other vampires also may have werewolf mates. We should no longer fear being hybrids and instead embrace the possibility of finding our mates amongst other races, not just werewolves but witches, fae, wolves, and who knows what else." I raise an eyebrow at the passion in her voice. She's shaking slightly when she's finished, and for a moment there is nothing but silence in the room. "I agree," I say, taking hold of her hand and giving it a loving squeeze. Her face lights up when she smiles at me. "You are very passionate about this," comments Prince Jasper. "Is there a particular reason for it?" She nods. Holding my hand seems to give her courage, for she takes a deep breath and then tells us there are many vampires who would like to travel outside of our boundaries in search of a mate. I think they should be given the chance to find true love, rather than have to settle with a chosen mate, like so many have done." Prince Jasper considers. "Perhaps then, we should allow them to begin by visiting your pack, in particular King Axel. After all, your queen is going to be a vampire. Sarah looks like she's gone even paler at that, her lips tightening. I lean over to speak to her. Breathe, relax. All right, being queen is not so bad, I say, lots of traveling and having fun. I want a family, she says a little weakly, children to love. My heart hammers wildly in my chest, at the mere thought of children to love and to adore. Hybrids or not, I would love them all, and I could picture miniature versions of Sarah in my mind, not to mention her belly swollen with our pup. My wolf was going insane at the images I presented him. I felt such a longing for what she'd mentioned, a desire to have the family I'd always wanted and didn't have at the moment. I think I have the general gist of what the treaty will say, says Prince Jasper smoothly. I will get it prepared for both of you to sign along with the legal professionals. Why don't you two go and take a walk outside, he suggests, glancing out the window. It's a beautiful day, lovely and warm. I get up and offer Prince Jasper my hand, giving him a firm handshake. I appreciate it, and your hospitality. He winks. Have fun, he practically sings. I grab Sarah's hand and lead her out of the room, downstairs and out the front entryway, until we reach the grounds. Only then, do I stop and let out a huge exhale. My whole body relaxes, as we saunter around the castle. Ah, it's so nice out here, Sarah says joyfully. My hand tightens as I wonder how many opportunities a servant is given to go outside and just relax. Probably not much, but it didn't look like Prince Jasper abused his servants. The sun was shining brightly, the sky was a pale blue, with fluffy white clouds chasing each other across the sky. We could hear the sounds of birds chirping in the distance, and even crickets in the grass around us. The grass was soft and plush, my feet sinking into it. Other vampires greeted us with friendly smiles and waves as we walked. Sarah, I say gently, making her turn towards me. I have something I need to ask you. Prince Jasper already stated that you would be my queen, but I want to ask if you are willing to leave this all behind, to come back to my pack with me and help me to rule the werewolves. This is your home, so I know it won't be easy, but I promise we can visit often and I'll do anything to make your transition easier. She fidgets with her hands a little bit, before glancing at me anxiously. She bites her lip. This is the only home that I've ever known, she whispers shakily. I grew up here, and I've spent many years as a servant to the royal family. I haven't experienced anything different, she says sadly. I have no family, I was found wandering the forest as a small child and brought into this pack. I've always dreamed of traveling to different countries, experiencing different cultures, and I've always been intrigued by shifters as well. I wait patiently for her to continue. So I guess what I'm really saying, she says timidly, looking down at the ground, is that I will happily go back to your pack and make a home with you. All I ask for is a bit of patience while I get used to it all. I promise to try and make you happy. I give her a kiss on the cheek. Just being with you, like now, is enough to make me happy, I tell her honestly. But for you to leave everything behind, to follow me home, is a real blessing and one I won't take lightly. You're making a huge sacrifice, Sarah, and I know that it's difficult for you. So thank you, from the bottom of my heart. She gives me a small smile. I'm rejoicing, celebrating on the inside, wanting to shout out in triumph at the notion of my mate coming with me. Instead, I begin to tug her hand, bringing her to my side, my arm snaking around her waist as she begins to walk alongside me again. Let me tell you all about my castle, I begin. Simon POV. I look rather helplessly at the twins, Drake and Damien, my so-called brothers, as Millie and Jinx crowd me, wanting to be picked up and cuddled. Just be careful bro, Drake says easily, picking Millie up, while I tentatively pick up Jinx, who settles against me with his thumb in his hand. I love how easily the word bro came off his lips, as though he has accepted me as his half-brother already. Damien seems to be a little more cautious of the two, and as for Langdon, well, it's impossible to tell what the man is thinking half the time, but he's polite and civil to me at least. I get the wariness, believe me I do. After all, our mother was an evil, and that's not even me exaggerating. She made my childhood a living hell. All I can remember is the constant tantrums she would throw whenever she didn't get her own way, the very odd occasion father would tell her no. The screaming, the slapping of my face just because she hated seeing it. There was no telling when she would lose her temper, sometimes it was constant for days. It was all I could do to fade into the background. Simon, Jinx says happily, as I bounce him on my leg. Thank God for shifter strength, because I'm definitely not the strongest person here. Yet I say lowly. He pulls out his thumb. Bro, he repeats what he heard Drake say. My heart melts instantly. I have always wanted a younger brother or sister, and if Damien, Drake, and Langdon adopted these two little ones, then I would have both a younger sister and a younger brother. I had my fingers crossed for them. They seemed like such a beautiful family. One day, I hope to have the same, with the mate that I love and adore. There is no way I'll ever take a chosen mate. I shudder at the very thought of it. Not after seeing what mother and father's relationship is like. Should we watch a movie, suggests Damien. Millie gives a happy shriek, wiggling in Drake's grasp now. Movie, she chants, as Damien gives a low chuckle. Sounds good, says Drake, carrying Millie into the lounge room, the rest of us following behind him. He plunks Millie on the couch and tickles her, making her shriek with laughter. These children look so different now that their hair isn't disheveled and dirty, their bodies now clean and smelling fresh. Damien and Drake had bathed the two of them for hours, washing their hair over and over in an attempt to not have to cut it. In the end they had cut Jinx's, so that it was more manageable, for it had been long, and trimmed Millie's. It made a huge difference, you wouldn't believe it. It was like looking at two different children once they had gotten out of the bath. I awkwardly place Jinx on the couch. He immediately moves and sidles closer to Millie. Those two have such a connection, that I feel envious of their relationship with one another. They are so close, so attuned to each other's mood. Then again, maybe that was a twin thing? Damien and Drake appeared to be just as close, and they hadn't known each other long, let alone known about each other's existence their whole lives. They were also extremely devoted to Langdon, and Langdon was just as devoted and fiercely protective of his mates. What should we watch? Asks Damien with a wide smile at the two little cherubs, who were watching him with wide eyes. There's Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, Beauty, and the Beast. He trails off. Millie sits upright, bouncing up and down on the sofa with excitement. Jinx appears to be the more sensitive one in the twosome, or rather more of an introvert. Cinderella, 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 she yells, her tone shrill as we all wince and try not to cover our ears. Jinx just nods quietly, his gaze on the television screen, leaning against Millie. Cinderella it is, laughs Damien, putting the DVD into the player. I will go make some popcorn, says Drake calmly, while Langdon sits down in a recliner, a smile on his face as he watches the two small children. Simon, want to give me a hand? I'm a little surprised by the request, but I just shrug nonchalantly. Sure, I say, following him into the kitchen. He hands me the microwave popcorn and points to the microwave, fiddling around in the kitchen for a large bowl. I place it inside the microwave and follow the directions. So how are you finding it here, little bro? Asks Drake, as he plunks a large bowl next to the microwave. I look at him, uncertain how to answer. In the end I choose honesty. I don't know. I mean, this pack is so different to what I grew up with. Not only that, but you and Damien seem so nice, so friendly, it's strange to me, I admit. He gives a friendly smile as he turns towards the refrigerator and begins to dig out sodas for everyone. He waters some down in sippy cups for the two small ones. A treat, he says hastily as I watch with a raised eyebrow. They don't get this every day, we all agreed on that. But for now, while they settle in with us. I nod. That's fair enough. I open the microwave door as it gives a loud ding, putting the fresh, hot popcorn into the bowl. My mouth fairly waters at the smell of it, as I take hold of it, Drake grabbing hold of the sodas, and sippy cups. We go back into the lounge room. Millie and Jinx eagerly hold out their hands for the sippy cups, their eyes wide as they take a little sip, wide smiles on their faces. Damien and Langdon take a soda and I grab one after placing the bowl in the middle of the coffee table, for everyone to share. I watch the screen as the movie begins. The children reach out and take hold of a handful of popcorn simultaneously and begin to happily munch on it. They are transfixed by the movie, seemingly familiar with it. I sit down on the other recliner, while Drake sits on the lounge, next to the children, Damien on the other side of them. We all lean back, crossing our legs and relaxing. Simon, I wonder what you'll think of Winter and Kai when you get to meet them properly, comments Damien. Winter is lovely, by the way, the best sister a bro could ever want. I smile. I hadn't really gotten to know Winter when we all came back here, so I was hoping to spend time with her when she and Alpha Kai came back. She seems really cool, I tell him. She was really nice and so was Kai. It was good of them to bring me back here. But can I ask something? Damien nods. Drake looks curious. What is Jonathan like? I know he's my half-brother as well. Is he going to come and see me? I ask, trying not to appear too enthusiastic. After all, I had gone from no siblings to 4. It was astonishing and awesome, to tell the truth. Damien gives a small cough, Millie turning around and shushing him with a serious look on her face. He apologizes and waits until the little girl is watching the movie again, before he starts to speak. Jonathan is a cool person. He's strong, as an alpha, and he has his own pack. He's kind, caring, and I guess he'll make a pretty awesome brother as well. He did contact me to let you know that he's planning on traveling down here to see you, when he gets his mate settled in at home. I guess it's hard, his mate was in one of the cells at the warehouse, so she's pretty traumatized, so give him some leeway. I nod but feel glum. I would have liked to have met Jonathan, but who was I to complain when I had two brothers right here with me, wanting to get to know me? So what are your hobbies? Simon asked Drake, looking curious. I shrug. I really like to read. I tell him any books I can get my hands on. I didn't get given many growing up and I didn't really attend school too much, so I would read whenever I did have some. Do you like to train? This was from Langdon, who was leaning forward in his chair. Not really. Not because it's hard, but I do find it to be difficult, but because we were whipped if we didn't train to the trainer's satisfaction. The hunter was a real like that, I mutter, then sorry as I realize I've just sworn in front of Millie and Jinx. Thankfully they didn't look up from the television, so I doubt they heard me. Would you like to train? We don't punish in that way and the head trainer is really understanding. Langdon pushes. I think about it. For so long now, I've felt helpless, unable to defend myself and hating that I feel like a coward who tries to hide in the background. Maybe here, it wouldn't be so bad and I could become as good a fighter as Winter and Alpha Kai. All I needed was a little push and Langdon was giving me the choice. I'll give it a go, I say hoarsely, but if I want to stop. Then you stop, no questions asked, promised Langdon. I give a sigh of relief. What else do you like to do? Damien. I really like to listen to music. I like pop songs and heavy metal, I tell him, but I've only heard songs from the radio station in cars. We'll have to get you some music CDs and a stereo, murmurs Damien thoughtfully. That would be so awesome. I almost beam at him with my eyes twinkling. For the first time in a long time I felt like I was surrounded by family and friends. It was a novel concept to me. I had never had friends before and I hated the family I did have. Now it was an entirely different story. This felt like what I imagined home would feel like. Drake shoots a look at Langdon, who gives an almost imperceptible nod. What was going on? It was almost like they had a secret or something. He gives me a friendly and warm smile. So Simon, he says quietly, Damien also leaning forward, careful to avoid blocking the TV screen for the children. We were wondering something. This could be ominous. I force myself to speak past the lump in my throat, seized by fear for no good reason. What's that? Relax, says Damien with a laugh. It's nothing serious or bad. It's just that Damien, Langdon, and I have been talking about you, he says. My body instantly relaxes as I glance over at a tight-lipped Langdon, who is listening intently to Damien. We were wondering if you would like to live in this house with us or if you want to live in the pack house with Winter and Kai. Of course, if you want to live with Johan Thon, you can, no one's saying you can't. That's entirely up to you, Damien tells me firmly. My heart skips a beat. Was he asking me to live with them? I was a little confused. But don't you have enough on your plate with Millie and Jinx? Surely it would be too much to throw me into the mix as well. But Damien's eyes are twinkling at me. We might be busy, but there is always room in our home for family. I blink back the tears from my eyes. He had just called me family, so casually, like it was nothing, but to me it meant everything. I couldn't believe they were opening their home to me. The choice is yours, but my home is always open to you, Langdon says gruffly, and we would love for you to stay. I don't even have to consider it. The house would be chaotic, with the children, but it would also be full of love and laughter. Damien and Drake were awesome and I could help with Millie and Jinx in exchange. I knew Winter had opened her home to me, but I really wanted to live with my older brothers. I would like to live here, I tell them, and am swamped with hugs, from Damien, Drake and Shocker, Langdon as well. Then I guess we better show you to your new room, suggests Drake, and within seconds I'm up following him, my chest tight. I was finally home, with family that loved me. Kai POV twins. We're having twins. I look at Winter slightly panicked. One baby was hard enough to imagine taking care of, but two at the same time? Storm on the other hand was preening like a proud peacock, as though he was personally responsible for it. Stupid mutt. Winter looked just as dazed as she got up and went to the bathroom to clean herself off. I had so many thoughts running through my head, but one in particular stood out. I was going to be a father, and if I was honest with myself, I couldn't wait. I could already see myself holding a newborn in my arms, Winter by my side, holding the other. It was such a sweet picture, that it brought tears to my eyes. I felt a sense of determination as Winter came back out, looking a bit pale. Winter, do you mind if we spend another night or two here, I suggest quietly, and are you all right? I need to go see Prince Jasper about something. She nods, looking a bit perplexed. I think I might go take a nap, she says with a yawn. Good idea, I tell her hastily, escorting her to the room. I lean down and give her a loving, warm kiss that makes her moan in appreciation. You could come join me, she suggests, and I'm so incredibly tempted, but I have something far more important that I need to take care of. Rain check, I say, and she shrugs, looking slightly disappointed. Have a good nap, I tell her, and she smiles and nods, disappearing back inside the room and closing the door. I waste no time in locating Prince Jasper, who is outside enjoying the warm sunshine. He glances over at me. Alpha Kai, he exclaims with a grin, I've just finished discussing the treaty with King Axel. Did you come to find out the particulars? I shake my head. Actually, I was hoping you could do me a bit of a favor, I hedge, shifting on my feet. His eyes narrow as he waits for me to finish. Is there a chance I could borrow a car, and is there a mall nearby? He laughs. Is that all? Of course I can lend you a car. The mall is very close, surprisingly, but I do happen to like to shop. Thanks, I mutter. He gestures with one hand and begins to walk around the castle, towards the back, where there is a garage, housing several impressive-looking cars. Will this one do? He asks politely, pointing at a Ferrari. I stare at him speechless. Is he really going to lend me a Ferrari? He must be mad. But my mouth waters at the thought of driving it. Are you sure? I stammer. I mean, what if I get in an accident? Then we'll be thankful you're still alive. Cars can be replaced, people cannot be. He walks over to a shelf with keys on it, rifling through, and then tosses me one. I wish you luck on whatever it is you are seeking, although he says a bit sharply, I have an idea of what you are going for. About time if you ask me, he chuckles. She's a very beautiful woman. I stare at him in stupefaction, before coming to my senses and eagerly getting into the driver's seat of the car. Now listen closely, says Prince Jasper, leaning over. Here are the directions to the mall. He repeats them twice and I nod, Prince Jasper backing away and watching as I start the ignition. The car comes to life and I slowly reverse out, before turning and leaving the castle grounds, Prince Jasper waving in the background. The mall was only a few minutes away and the drive was far too short for my liking. I had the windows down, enjoying the fresh air and breeze on my face. It was a beauty of a drive, the car smooth as anything to drive. I reluctantly pulled into a parking spot and got out, ambling into the mall and into a sea of people going in every direction. I walked, and then spotted the store I needed, walking into the jewelry store with my heart pounding loudly in my chest. I head straight to the rings section. But then I pause, confused. There were so many to choose from, so many different shapes that I was unsure where to begin. Storm, however, wasted no time in giving his opinion. Choose something delicate that reminds us of winter. She loves gold jewelry, or is that because we can't wear silver? Anyway, I think something small rather than blingy. Simple, elegant, just like winter is. But beautiful and unique too. Storm, you're making me overthink things. Good, 'cause you don't want to stuff this up. Thank Christ you're finally coming around. It's only taken me months of pushing. Why do you have to be so freaking stubborn? Do not make me put a block up, Storm. I'm letting you help me choose out of courtesy. Grr. Fine then, let's have a proper look at the rings. A saleswoman comes up to me as I'm perusing the rings, feeling a bit hopeless. She gives me a friendly smile. Is there something I can help you with? She asks warmly. I want to buy an engagement ring, I tell her, pointing down at them, but I wouldn't know what to choose. All right, she says calmly, then let's begin with a few questions. Silver, gold, rose gold or white gold? I hesitate but then look at the white gold. It's perfect and I like it far better than the gold, which I feel would look quite heavy on her finger. White gold. Fantastic, she beams, putting away the gold rings and silver. This left a few trays still to peruse. Now, are you going with a traditional diamond, or are you looking for a different stone such as amethyst, emerald, garnet? She prompts. What do you think, Storm? Honestly, I think traditional diamond. It's so pretty and will look dazzling in the sun on her finger. So no to the other stones? No to the other stones. It's not her. I'm telling you. I think we'll stick to the traditional diamond, I tell the saleswoman. She nods and removes more rings. Now, what kind of thing were you thinking? A solitary diamond or a diamond surrounded by smaller ones? Now I was feeling even more stuck. They all looked stunning when you looked at them. Single diamond, but rather large. I don't like them surrounded, that seems more like a wedding band than an engagement ring. Are you sure, Storm? You better believe it. Have another look and you'll see I'm right. Plus, Winter has small fingers, so she needs something that looks delicate while still having a large diamond to show off. I'm going with you on this, so let's hope you're right. I'm always right, you moron. I think a single diamond, I murmur, and she nods. Most people go for an individual diamond when they are proposing, but go for several on a wedding band, she explains. Damn Storm for being correct. Boy, is he smug right now. Now, are you thinking small or large? The woman questions me, still smiling warmly. Large, I say decisively, but not so big that it gets in the way of things. She nods in understanding, pulling several rings out and placing them on the counter for me to view. I hope you don't mind, but I've taken the liberty of putting some of my favorites out on the counter. These ones are quite special and unique, which the woman I assume you're marrying is like. This one is a princess cut, she explains, holding it up. I peer at it. It's really pretty, the diamond more medium size, but on Winter's hand it would look quite large on her delicate fingers. She hands me the ring and I feel it, holding it up to the light. It's not huge, but then sometimes too big can look tacky on a person, not to mention feel really heavy when wearing it. I didn't want it to feel heavy on Winter's finger. She hands me another one that's similar, the diamond slightly smaller, in a square shape. I immediately shake my head. No square shapes, I tell her, handing it back. She puts it back under the counter. She hands me a few more, but none of them are as pretty as the first one she gave me. My instinct is telling me to go with that one, but I check with Storm first. Storm, what do you think? Go with the first one with the princess cut for our princess. I don't like the other ones. This one seems right somehow, like it's made for her. I think the same. It's perfect. It screams Winter, you know. I really hope she loves it. She will. Hell, I love it. Storm, I'm not marrying you, just so you know. No, but she's marrying the both of us. So I get a say and I say this one. Fair enough. I think that the princess cut is perfect, I say honestly before she can hand me any more. I can picture it on her finger and I'm going on instinct. The saleswoman, her name tag reading Barbara now that I've taken the time to look at it, nods in understanding. That's the best way to choose. You know your partner well, so you know what she'll like. She cheerfully places the rest of the rings back under the counter and then motions me towards the cash register. I follow her, feeling excitement in my chest. I don't even flinch at the price. For me, $15,000 was hardly anything and I quickly hand over my bank card, watching her swipe it, before putting in my PIN. I'll get you a box for it, she says, turning away and grabbing one from the shelf behind her. It's a nice red one. She winks. Red is far more romantic. She puts the ring inside and hands it to me. Good luck and all the best, she says. I really hope she says yes. Thanks for your help. I put the ring box in my jeans pocket, feeling it against my leg. Storm is almost wriggling with excitement in my mind, but I'm determined to do this right. I didn't just want to propose in the bedroom, I wanted it to be romantic. Winter deserved romantic. I also don't want her to think that I'm proposing just because she's pregnant. It's been on my mind for a while, thanks to Storm and that stupid song he continually sings at me. This just pushed me to do it earlier. I want Winter to have my name, my children to have it. I want her to be married to me before she gives birth. But will she say yes? Better make it extra romantic so she doesn't say no. I will. I will. God, I'm feeling the pressure. You'll survive. Or do you want me to do the proposing? 'Cause I'll happily do it. No way, Storm. You are not taking over the proposal. Get that in your head right now. What if you freeze? Then what? Then you have my permission to take over, but only then. Otherwise leave it up to me. Fine, then don't stuff it up. I won't. I shake my head and sigh. Storm has a point though, I need to make this romantic for Winter. I have an idea in the back of my mind, but I'm going to need some serious help with it. Something tells me Prince Jasper will be more than willing, but I still need to pick up some supplies in preparation. I start to head down towards the opposite side of the mall, listing things I need in my mind. My card was about to take a serious hit and I didn't even care. I had one chance at this and I was going all out. Winter POV. I wonder what Kai has been up to today? I ended up taking a huge nap and sleeping until early afternoon. I guess pregnancy takes it out of you. But when I went looking for my mate, there was no sign of him and he wasn't responding to my trying to mind link him either. It was making me suspicious. He's probably doing something important with Prince Jasper's girlfriend. No need to be paranoid. I know, but after the debacle with Vanessa and everything else, I can't help but worry that something is going on. Perfectly normal, but I'm telling you, the man is fine and he's not doing anything wrong. Trust me, you know I would be the first one to tell you if I thought otherwise. Relax. Fine, then what do you propose we go do? Enjoy the outdoors. Go for a walk. Breathe in the fresh air. At least air can't make you feel sick, at least as far as I know. Good point, let's go outside for a walk. Yay! Sabriel makes me laugh as I shake my head at her antics and walk out of the bedroom, going downstairs. Prince Jasper is just by the front entrance to the castle to my surprise, his eyes twinkling as he looks at me. I frown. Is it my imagination or does he look like he's harboring a secret? Or that he knows something I don't? Winter, he says jovially, are you going somewhere? He looks a bit anxious, but that could be my paranoia. I thought I would go for a walk outside, get some fresh air, I tell him. He looks concerned. Then his expression clears up a bit. Actually, if you wait a moment, I may join you, if that is all right with you, he asks. I wonder why his eyes went glazed for a moment. Can he mind link with his people like shifters can? I have to ask. Can you mind link with other members of your pack? Any member of the royal family can, he says easily. Other pack members can, but we're able to mind link for miles. Why? No reason, I mutter. Curiosity, that's all. He just chuckles, opening the large doors and ushering me outside. We walk in silence for a bit, Prince Jasper's steps purposeful, as though he's specifically heading somewhere. Maybe he needs to speak to someone? I don't care. It's beautiful outside, the sun is brightly shining down on us, there's a soft and gentle breeze and the smell of pine from the forest drifts towards us. The grass is soft and squishy beneath my shoes, my feet sinking down with each step. Bees flutter from a nearby patch of wild flowers and I see a butterfly flying away. It's heaven. Perfect weather, and my nausea subsides as we walk further away from the castle. To my shock, Kai comes towards us, meeting us with a large smile on his face, his eyes sparkling. I'll take it from here, Prince Jasper. My thanks for helping me, he says mysteriously. It makes me wonder what Kai asked for help with. Prince Jasper gives him a smile back. Good luck, he tells Kai as I look on in puzzlement, the prince turning around and striding away with large steps as though in a huge hurry. Kai leans down and kisses me with an intensity that leaves me breathless. I moan into his mouth, feeling his tongue delve inside my mouth, touching my own tongue and caressing it. Sparks fly between us and tingles run down my spine. His hands grip my arms tightly, but not painfully. By the time we pull back I'm panting with need, Kai looking extremely reluctant. He gently takes hold of my hand, squeezing it. I have something to show you, he tells me quietly, if you'll come with me. I follow, his hand still holding mine, as we go further away from the castle, until we come to a large wooden gazebo that looks freshly painted. It has bench seat all around it and there are fairy lights twinkling all over it. I glance at Kai speechless. It's beautiful, and it overlooks the forest and the castle. Even though it's in the middle of the grounds, it looks like it belongs there. We step inside, and I look around in awe, loving the view. I can see the trees swaying in the forest and the mixture of pine and dirt fills my nostrils. It's romantic and I love it. I have a hard time believing that Prince Jasper would have put something like this on his grounds though. It just doesn't seem like him. Then again, I could be judging him unfairly. Perhaps Queen Arabelle had put it up? I sit on the bench seat and just inhale deeply, Kai watching my every move, his hand dropping to his side as he lets go of my hand. For some inexplicable reason, he looks incredibly nervous now. Kai, what's wrong? Why couldn't I find you earlier? I ask. I tried to mind link you and you had me blocked. I was worried about you, I burst out, feeling frustrated. He grimaces. I'm sorry, Winter. I had something important to do and I didn't want you to know what I was doing. I had to go out for a while. Next time just tell me you're out. I don't have to know what you're up to if you don't want me to know. I just don't want to worry about you unnecessarily. That's fair, he acknowledges. I'll do that next time. I smile at him. He looks relieved, although his hand constantly goes to his pocket in his jeans. Is he still nervous? Winter, there's something I want to say to you, he starts, coming forward and taking hold of my hand, and I want you to listen to me. Okay, I say slowly. This was so unusual. Thanks, he says anxiously. Listen, I know that our relationship has had its ups and downs. When we first met each other, I didn't want anything to do with you, and yet, I couldn't stop thinking about you. I refused to reject you, but I kept you away from me as well. That wasn't fair to you. You were innocent and pure, and all I could think was that you wouldn't want someone like me. Someone with scars, both inside and out. I open my mouth to protest, but quickly shut it when he shakes his head at me. Then we had the incidents with you almost being killed several times, because I was too stubborn to see who the culprit was. Your father tried to kill you and you ended up being a hybrid because I was too late to save you. I blame myself for that. My heart gives a pang. I never realized that he blamed himself for something he wasn't responsible for. I had known the risks when we concocted the plan. I was also to blame for what happened. He wasn't finished. You had to torture your own mother for information to save other shifters and races. You now have a half-brother you didn't know about, an older brother you discovered, and now you're pregnant. Our relationship has been fraught with danger and you've almost died several times, he continues. Where on earth is he going with this? His eyes soften as he stares at me. When we met, I was a cold, unkind man who didn't care about your feelings, or anyone else's for that matter. But you changed me, Winter. You taught me what it was like to fall in love with someone, to be able to show them affection and how to care. You slowly pushed your way into my life and it began to change for the better. Oh Kai, I say, flattered, my heart swelling with joy. His admissions were so heartfelt that it was tugging on my heart and causing tears to come to my eyes. You're such a wonderful person, Winter. You're loving, kind, compassionate, and brave. One of the most bravest and courageous women I have ever had the pleasure to meet. You're full of forgiveness and you'll do anything to help someone who's in a bind or who needs it. He pauses and takes a deep breath. I love waking up in the mornings with you by my side. Feeling your body next to mine, even if it's just to cuddle. I love kissing your soft lips and touching you, even if it's just to hug you. Your smile makes me smile and your laughter is like music to my ears. I was more than flattered now, blinking back tears as they threatened to well over and trail down my cheeks. Sabriel was listening intently as well. You've grown so much as a person and your wolf is amazing, he continues as Sabriel preens in my mind. Your wolf has grown as you've gotten stronger and more assertive as a person. I know I haven't been the best mate, in fact I've been downright rotten to you. I'm trying to do better though, trying to show you how much I love and adore you. I never want to hurt you again. When you're sad, I'm sad. When you're feeling low, I want to be the one to try and make you happy again. I want to hear your laughter every day, for the rest of my life. I want to see your smile when I wake up in the mornings. I want to hear your voice, every hour of every day. He was making my heart pound loudly in my chest. My throat felt tight as I listened to his words. You mean the world to me, Winter, and to Storm, he adds hastily as though his wolf was listening in as well. I give a small giggle at that thought. I know I don't tell you often enough that I love you, Winter, but I promise to change all that. I promise to tell you every day that you are the one for me, the mate I've always wanted, the one I want by my side forever. I gasp, putting a hand to my chest. His eyes are pitch black now, as they bore into mine. He begins to fidget slightly with his hand, plunging it into his pocket and withdrawing a small red box, getting down on one knee as I stare at him in disbelief. Am I dreaming? That's the thought that enters my mind. Surely he's not doing what I think he's doing? He lets out a large exhale and slowly opens the box, showing it to me. Oh my God! He is. Winter, my beautiful, gorgeous mate, Kai says slowly, staring upwards at me as I wriggle on the bench seat in excitement. Will you do me the honor of marrying me? Stunned silence. For a moment all I can do is stare at him and the ring box in shock. Then my throat convulses and I let rip with a gigantic shriek. Yes, God yes, Kai, of course I will, sobbing as he slowly pulls the ring out and puts it on my shaking finger. It's beautiful, a large single diamond on a white gold band. It suits me perfectly and it's a perfect fit. I fling myself into Kai's arms and sob on his shoulder as he holds me. The empty ring box sits forgotten on the floor of the gazebo. Then, I move and press my lips against Kai's, kissing him gently, my tears dripping down my cheeks. He strokes my hair, and as I pull back, he murmurs to me softly, I love you so much, Winter. I always will, now and forever. My heart skips a beat. Then I love you, Kai, forever and always. We stay there, in a tight embrace, time slipping by. It feels so surreal, like something out of a fairy tale. It was the most perfect proposal a girl could ask for. Winter POV. Several weeks later, I stare around in bemusement, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Damien and Drake are arguing over how the cots should be put together. Langdon is silently banging his head against the wall as he listens to them, and Kai is frustrated and gesturing wildly to the change table. Whoever wrote these instructions, he hisses at me, his eyes looking wild. I mean, I have spare screws. Winter. Does it say where to put them? No. So what am I supposed to do with them? Maybe just put them aside, I suggest cautiously. Kai's hair disheveled, his eyes extremely intense as he stares at me. Behind us I can hear Damien and Drake. That's the wrong way, you need to turn it around. No way. It's this way. Guys, can't you try and work as a team? Langdon's voice quietly disrupts them. Millie and Jinx are in the corner, playing with a few toys, and Simon is sitting with them, keeping a close eye so they don't venture too close while the furniture is being put together. Simon has been an absolute godsend. I've managed to spend some time with my little brother, and he's quite the smart one. He's also very sensitive and kind. According to Damien and Drake, he adores living with them, so I'm not going to suggest him moving in with us. Finally, I see the semblance of the first cot. Great work, guys, I say, admiring it. Drake puffs out his chest, while Damien just gives me a grin. Thanks, now we just have to put the other one together. Drake's grin disappears. He looks at the box containing the other cot and flinches. Langdon sighs heavily and sits between them. Why must I supervise you both like children, he mutters, before pointing to Millie and Jinx. Must I remind you we're supposed to act like family now? So far there has been no luck finding any of Millie and Jinx's family, and I know that Damien, Drake, and Langdon are really hoping to adopt the two little adorable cherubs. Sorry, mutters Damien. Sorry, exhales Drake, both of them glancing apologetically at Langdon, who merely shakes his head at them. I feel Kai's arm encircle me around my waist, his chin nuzzling my neck. I giggle, as he begins to kiss the nape of my neck, closing my eyes in bliss. Then he slowly turns me around and kisses me, his tongue demanding access, which I willingly give. I moan, feeling the sparks fly as usual and the simmering chemistry between us. For a moment, I forget completely about everyone else in the nursery, until I feel a tug on my shirt. I glance down to see Millie peering at us both. My mummy and daddy used to kiss like that, she says, eyes wide. She told me it meant they loved each other. I smile down at the little girl. It does mean that I love Kai and Kai loves me. She giggles, then runs back over to Simon, who is motioning for her to join him and Jinx again. I glance over at the clock. You guys, it's time to go, I don't want to be late. My voice was eager, dripping with excitement. Kai gives a firm nod as Damien and Drake stand up, dusting themselves off. Damien reaches down and helps Langdon up, giving him a quick peck on the lips while Drake watches. Simon comes over, holding Millie and Jinx's hand. Millie lets go and grabs hold of Drake's, while Jinx shyly goes up to Damien, both of my brothers instantly picking them up and cuddling them. Langdon just surveys the scene with a wide grin on his face. He looks so content, so happy, with the family and the mates that he has. He's like a completely different person now. Kai gently tugs me by the hand and leads me out of the half-assembled nursery, leading me down the stairs and out the front door of the pack house. We take our time, sauntering slowly, my brothers and Langdon following along with the children. The sun is bright, shining down on us, and the sky is a pale blue with massive clouds gathering in the sky. I wonder if there's going to be rain, the wind picking up a bit and making me shiver. Kai notices my discomfort and takes off his hoodie, putting it on me as I smile at him in appreciation. It definitely makes me feel warmer. The walk isn't long, and before we know it, we're standing in front of the hospital and entering inside of it. Dr. Renee, my obstetrician, met me there, with a smile on her friendly face. "Winter," she exclaims, "I take it that you are here for your ultrasound." She glances around me in consternation, seeing the small crowd. "Is everyone here going to be present?" "Yes, please. This is my family," I tell her, pointing towards everyone. "This is Drake, Damien, Langdon, Simon, Millie, and Jinx." She nods and shakes hands with everyone, including the children. Then she gives a small laugh. "I hope the room is going to be big enough for everyone. If it's not, I'll move you to another one," she adds, gesturing for everyone to follow her. We come to an empty room, Kai and I entering first, everyone else shuffling in from behind. Damien, Drake, Langdon, and Simon press themselves to the wall at the back, the children still held firmly in Drake and Damien's arms. "I need you to pull up your shirt and hoodie and pull your pants down," Dr. Renee instructs, moving briskly to get the ultrasound machine ready. I do as she instructs and climb onto the bed, lying down with my heart beating rapidly in my chest. Behind me, Damien and Drake start to whisper amongst themselves. "Don't forget, if I win, you owe me $50. I can't quite place which twin that was." "Ha! You have no chance. That was definitely Drake." "We all know I'm going to win," Langdon's voice. It hits me what they are talking about, and I turn around to glare at them all. "Did you guys place bets?" I snarl, and they give me a wicked grin and wink. "Yep," Damien says unabashedly, Drake nodding enthusiastically. "And one of us is about to collect," he adds smugly, looking certain that he's the winner. Kai glowers at them and they fall silent. Dr. Renee gives a small giggle by the machine, before she wheels it over. Kai reaches over and grabs my hand, squeezing it tightly as Dr. Renee begins to place some gel on the probe. "This might be cold," warns Dr. Renee, before placing it firmly on my stomach. I give a small gasp at the cold sensation, my body stiffening for a moment, before relaxing. Dr. Renee turns to the screen and begins to move the probe. Damien, Drake, and Langdon peer at it intently, Millie and Jinx staring with fascination on their small faces. I glance at the screen, hoping that everything to do with the babies is all right. "Heartbeats are strong and healthy," murmurs Dr. Renee, grabbing hold of a clipboard and scribbling it down. "Vitals are good, very good." I relax a little bit more. "Their development is a lot faster than I would have expected, but that could be due to your hybrid status," Dr. Renee says, trying to reassure me. "It just means you might be giving birth a lot sooner than we first estimated." Kai squeezes my hand again. "Everything appears to be going really well," Dr. Renee says, smiling widely. "Now let's get to the gender, which I know you must be dying to find out." We were so excited, it was all I could do to keep still as she began to move the probe around, pressing a bit more firmly on my stomach. Kai was fidgeting in his seat, Damien, Drake, and Langdon were eerily silent. All right, exclaims Dr. Renee, showing us a perfect image of one of our babies. We have a baby boy, ladies and gentlemen. Whispers Langdon, clearly the loser of his bet. The twins snicker, Millie and Jinx look unimpressed and a little bored. A boy, Kai exclaims, almost fist-pumping the air as I look at him in amusement. Way to go, Winter! Now for the next one, Dr. Renee mutters, moving the probe once more. The image disappears from the screen. Come on, urges Drake, bouncing Millie up and down in his arms in order to keep her happy, Damien doing the same with Jinx. I've gotta win this. Damien pokes his tongue out at his brother. Simon just stays in the corner of the room, looking a bit lost. I motion for him to come closer, to stand next to his brothers. He looks uncertain but does so. Did you make a bet, Simon? I ask, and he begins to look down at the floor. Yes, he whispers, and I glower at Damien and Drake, who had clearly influenced him into doing it. But I already lost, he adds. He must have bet on them both being girls then. I feel a little sorry for him. Another perfect image appears on the screen. A healthy baby. Dr. Renee is beaming. Would you like to know the gender of your other child? She teases me as I laugh at her. The tension in the room is so thick, you could feel it on the back of your neck. My brothers were taking this bet seriously, and I had to wonder what exactly was in it, besides the money. Part of me didn't want to know in case it was something intimate or inappropriate to discuss with their sister. Yes, please, I say, my whole body trembling in anticipation. I was having a son, but was I going to have two? Kai was just staring at the doctor, as though willing her to speak. I'm pleased to let you know that you're having a girl, Dr. Renee says. The room erupts as Drake begins to taunt Damien. I won. Pay up, he orders. Grumbling, Damien grabs his wallet and pulls a 50 out, handing it to him. Langdon reluctantly does the same, looking disgruntled. Drake is grinning like the cat that got the cream. Kai and I are in shock. We were having a boy and a girl. I was getting a son and a daughter. Was there anything more perfect than that? I was so happy that I burst into tears, startling Kai, who quickly embraced me. Congratulations, Simon told me from behind, the others chorusing the same. I'm just so happy, I sniffled, I can't believe it. Dr. Renee waits patiently for me to get my act back together. Eventually the tears stop and I pull back, looking at the doctor sheepishly. Sorry. She waves my apology away. It's fine, dear, she tells me. I want to see you in a few weeks' time, but there is no rush. However, judging by the baby's development, you'll be giving birth in about 3 months' time. So I would get yourself ready. I wryly think about the nursery that's half put together back home. Now I could get pink and blue linen for the cots and some beautiful swaddles. Thank you, Doctor, Kai says, surprising the woman with a hug. We really appreciate it. Oh, you, she jokes, waving goodbye. Kai helps me up and I leave to go to the bathroom, cleaning off the cold gel from the probe, which is rather sticky. I wrinkle my nose and thaw the paper towel I've used in the bin, before coming back into the room, where everyone is patiently waiting. I can't believe you bet on our baby's genders, I tell them off. Drake just grins. I'd tell you what I won, but it's not appropriate for little one's ears, he chuckles. Drake, I exclaim, but Kai just shakes his head and grabs hold of my hand. Come on, Kai says quietly, determination on his face. Let's go back and finish the nursery for our little ones. Winter POV. I've never felt so nervous before in my life. Behind me, Willow gives a wide smile, pausing to glance at me in my dress. You look beautiful, Winter, she says warmly, her voice full of approval. I look in the mirror, staring at my reflection, my hand automatically going to my swollen stomach. I barely recognize the woman looking back at me. My ice blonde hair is tied up in an elaborate updo, thanks to Willow's efforts, curls dangling down my neck. My dress is a cream color with a sweetheart neckline and no straps, coming in tight underneath the bodice but flowing out, over my baby bump. I wear some nice bejeweled flat sandals to go with, and I'm wearing a simple locket as my jewelry, that finishes just above my cleavage. Kai had given it to me and it was sentimental to me. It was the only thing I wanted to wear, along with a tiara to hold my hair in place. Willow was to be my only bridesmaid, wearing a lovely pale pink dress that had spaghetti straps and flowed down her lithe body. Her hair was in a simple ponytail with ringlets and she looked divine. She'd helped me get dressed and ready and I couldn't be more thankful for her calming presence. I felt a small pain in my back and ignored it. It was most likely Braxton Hicks, something that had happened several times in the last month. I heard a knock on the door and called out, "Come in," Simon opening the door and poking his head through. "Are you ready yet, Winter?" he asked with a smile, looking eager. I give a small nod. I'm nervous as all hell. Simon can sense it, because he bounds over and gives me a hug, careful to avoid squishing my large stomach. "You look gorgeous," he says, and I relax. Simon is such a sweetheart. "I'll go and get Drake and Damien," he murmurs and darts back out the door, in his suit, looking extremely adorable. Millie wanders in, wearing a cute pink flower girl dress to match Willow. Her blonde hair is tied back and she's wearing the cutest white sandals with the dress. She holds a basket or rose petals in one hand and is beaming from ear to ear. Jinx walks in behind her, fidgeting with his vest that goes with the suit he's wearing. He looks uncomfortable, but smiles at me happily. "Winter is beautiful," Millie informs Jinx, who nods and takes my hand. I smile down at the two little cherubs. Damien and Drake come sauntering in, both clad in matching suits, their hair neatly groomed back, looking comfortable and extremely handsome. Langdon was with Kai, his best man of course. But I had wanted my brothers to walk me down the aisle, as they were far better than a father in my eyes. "Well, shall we go?" asks Drake, taking hold of an excited Millie's hand. Guys," I say quietly, seeing how nervous Sarah is. "Where's Jonathan?" Here blurts out a panting voice. I frown at Jonathan, who looks a bit out of breath, adjusting his tie, his face slightly flushed. Sorry, I took a little long to get ready," he pants, rushing towards his mate, who looks very relieved. "But I'm here now." "Brilliant, now can we go?" blurts out Damien. I scowl at him but give a small nod. Together we all walk down the stairs, the inside of the pack house decorated with flowers everywhere for this auspicious occasion. At the front door is a table, laden with bouquets and buttonholes for the men. I grab hold of my bouquet, purple, pink and white silk flowers, while Willow is handed hers by Jonathan. Millie's given a small one and Damien puts Jinx's buttonhole on for him. We were all ready and my nerves were feeling shot. It was time. My heart was pounding wildly in my chest. I felt frozen in fear. If it wasn't for Sabriel's quiet encouraging voice in my ear, I might never have gathered up the courage to continue. As it was, I heard the music start in the distance and knew that someone had mind-linked Kai to begin. Drake opened the front door and a white runner ran from the length of it to an archway further up where Kai and Langdon were waiting for me. Millie went first, hand in hand with Jinx, swinging her basket around and flinging rose petals everywhere, including on some unfortunate guests. Willow was next and she sashayed down the aisle, holding tightly to Jonathan's hand, keeping in time to the music, until she reached the archway and then she separated from Jonathan, going to the opposite side and waiting, while Jonathan joined Kai and Langdon. Simon, Drake, and Damien stood beside me on each side, looking proud as punch. "Winter, are you sure about this?" asked Drake softly, "because if you have any doubts at all, say the word and we'll whisk you out of here, faster than you can blink." Simon, Drake, and Damien stood beside me on each side, looking proud as punch. "Winter, are you sure about this?" asked Drake softly, "because if you have any doubts at all, say the word and we'll whisk you out of here, faster than you can blink." I have to admit that I appreciate the sentiment. They are overprotective of me, but I love it. Even Simon is. We've gotten close over the last few months. But all I could think about was Kai and how he was waiting for me. I might be scared, but I had no doubts about what I was doing. I had wanted this more than anything. We all link arms and begin to walk down the aisle, my hands clutching my bouquet tightly. The pains in my back have continued, but I grit my teeth and smile, willing the pain to go away. For Braxton Hicks they sure are persistent. I stare at Kai, taking in his handsome face and the tuxedo he's wearing. He's slicked his hair back and his scars stood out as a result, but I didn't mind. His scars were a part of him and I thought they just made him look even manlier. Not that I was going to tell him that, of course. He was fidgeting slightly, but I saw his eyes widen as he saw me and then he puffed his chest out and stood tall. The minister stood a little distance away, watching the proceedings with a bemused smile on his face. Damien, Drake, and Simon all stop as we reach the archway. Damien gives me a hug and a kiss on the cheek. "I love you, little sis," he tells me, joining Langdon. Drake does the same. "Love you," he murmurs in my ear, hugging me tight. Simon gives me the last hug and a hasty peck on the forehead. "You are stunning," he whispers, darting off to join his brothers past the archway. I finish the walk alone, Kai reaching out a trembling hand and gathering me close. Ignoring the minister completely, he leans down and gives me a kiss, pressing his lips gently to mine, one hand sweeping a stray curl of my hair back over my ear. The crowd begins to hoop and holler in excitement, while my brothers merely look amused at the situation. Ahem, coughs the minister, forcing myself and Kai to pull back reluctantly. "Perhaps we could get through the ceremony first," he suggests, smiling. I blush. Kai just laughs out loud. "By all means, minister, go ahead," he encourages, tucking me under his arm. I have to push him a little to walk over to poor Willow, who's all alone, turning around to face him. Kai sighs. "Man, that minister is a bit of a party pooper, isn't he? Would it have hurt to let you guys kiss just a little more?" Prude. I don't think he was being prudish, Sabriel. I agree, we should have waited until the ceremony was over. Where's the fun in that? Besides, Kai looks too damn fine, girl. I just want to jump him. Ooh, those muscles of his, I'm drooling over here. Well, that's all you're going to be doing. I'm not jumping my mate during a wedding, for heaven's sake. It would give the guests something to remember. It's not like shifters are prudes. Yeah, no. Thanks but no thanks, Sabriel, you'll just have to keep your horniness to yourself. Fine, but that man's getting lucky tonight, I'm warning you. Warning received, now shush. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today, to witness the union between Winter and Kai, begins the minister, oblivious to my small discussion with Sabriel. I barely hear the rest of the words, the pain in my back intensifying to my displeasure. It distracted me somewhat from the ceremony as I forced myself to keep a fake smile on my face and to prevent myself from wincing or grimacing in pain, which would have just freaked Kai out. We exchanged rings and spoke our vows, myself feeling a little on autopilot, time passing by in a whir. Before I knew it, the minister was finally saying, "You may now kiss your bride." The crowd cheered as Kai grabbed me and pulled me in, kissing me a little more passionately, his tongue delving inside my mouth as I felt butterflies in my stomach. The sparks were flying between us and I gripped his arms tightly, reveling in the feel of his body and his muscles. He was so strong and yet he treated me so gently. "All right, enough," Langdon says from behind Kai, laughing a little. "You still have a reception to get through." I blink, somewhat in a daze, and pull back, looking over to see that most of the crowd have dispersed over to the marquee where we were holding the reception. "Oops," I mutter sheepishly. Millie giggles, dropping her basket and dancing around, Jinx awkwardly trying to copy her. Willow gives us a small wave and points at the marquee as I nod, Jonathan walking beside her. "I'm not sorry," Kai says indignantly, glaring at Langdon. "She's my wife. I mean, look at her, she's absolutely gorgeous, like a damn goddess. How am I supposed to resist that?" I almost glow from the compliment. "You'll have plenty of time to do that after the reception," Langdon shoots back, his tone brooking no arguments. He folds his arm and stares Kai down. "Fine," grumbles Kai, "you're no fun," he sulks as I giggle. Damien and Drake take hold of Millie and Jinx, beginning to walk to the marquee. Damien calls over his shoulder, "See you in there," with a wide grin on his face. The children are squirming in excitement, Damien and Drake having to hold them rather tightly from what I could see. "I want to offer my congratulations to you both," Langdon says pleasantly, giving me a hug and a kiss on both cheeks while Kai glowers at him. "Thank you, Langdon," I tell him sincerely. He turns and shakes Kai's hand, before giving him a heartfelt hug as well. He was just about to turn away when a sharp pain shot through me and I doubled over, groaning. I feel something wet and sticky dripping down my leg and Kai gives a loud shout. "Kai," I say weakly, staring down at myself in shock, feeling his arms around me as he picks me up and cradles me tightly to his chest. "My water just broke." "I can see that," he says tightly as I begin to let out a scream, feeling a contraction hit me. "Why didn't you say anything, you fool?" Langdon is already rushing to the marquee to alert my brothers and help with Millie and Jinx. "I didn't want to ruin the wedding," I tell him. "Plus I thought it was Braxton Hicks." The pain was excruciating, but the contractions were far apart, so I knew we had time. Still, Kai started to break into a jog, ignoring the fact I was leaking everywhere. There was a grim expression on his face, but his eyes softened as he stared at me. Today we'll have two things to remember, he mutters, our wedding anniversary and possibly the same night you gave birth to our children. Epilogue. The end. Winter POV. The pain came in waves, excruciating. My lips were curled back in a silent scream, as I hung on to Kai's hand for dear life. He winced from the pain and I was fairly certain I might have broken his hand, but he never once complained. His hair was disheveled and his clothes wrinkled from jogging to the hospital. Outside, my brothers waited patiently, along with Millie, Jinx, and Langdon, but all I could focus on was the fact the babies were coming, on the very same day as our wedding. You can do this, Winter encouraged Kai, squeezing my hand. I tried not to glare at him hatefully, it was partially his fault I was in pain. Instead I tried to focus on what it would feel like to have our babies in our arms. I was clad in a hospital gown and covered in sweat. It had been several hours since we'd made it here and now it was night time. I writhed on the bed, uncomfortable, the pain in my back and stomach intensifying as the contractions got closer together. It hurts, I moaned to Dr. Renee, who looks at me with encouragement. I know, honey, I can give you some more painkillers, but you're so far along now, that it might not take effect. I shake my head wearily. There was no point to having them then. My legs were spread wide apart, my back arched with every contraction. I felt an overwhelming need to push. I need to push, I grunt, and Dr. Renee quickly checks to see how dilated I am. I don't even flinch this time. You're fully dilated, Winter, so I want you to push with the next contraction, all right? Push down as hard as you can. I nod, panting heavily, feeling miserable and yet elated at the same time. Push, she orders, and I push, hard, down, screaming. Now relax, I do. Push, another push down, while Kai looks on with wide eyes, taking everything in. Thankfully he remains by my head and continues to hold my hand. The baby is crowning, Winter, so I think if you give a massive push this time, the baby will come out. Can you do that? I can try, I mutter, tired beyond all reason. I was exhausted. The next contraction hit and I screamed, putting all my energy into pushing down, Dr. Renee giving a triumphant shout. I have her, she crows, quickly passing our baby off to the nurse who is waiting patiently. I watch with glistening eyes as the nurse takes the child and begins to check her vitals. I know this means my son is now waiting to be born. I cry out with the next contraction and Dr. Renee quickly gets ready. This baby is crowning, Winter. I know you're tired and exhausted, but you can do this, and then you can hold your precious babies in your arms. Let's get our son out, Kai says with a smile, stroking my hair. I push down with all my strength with the next contraction, but it's not enough. That's all right, Winter, we can push again in a moment, get your strength back, Dr. Renee says calmly. I push again, hard, straining, and then stop, crying. It hurts so bad and I'm so tired, I whisper, and Kai kisses me lovingly on the forehead. Dr. Renee looks slightly anxious. One big push, honey, all right. Let's get this done. I push, hard, but as before I stop before it happens, tired and losing what little strength I do have. Dr. Renee looks concerned. Winter, I'm going to have to help you get this baby out. You're losing strength quickly. I'm going to use forceps to help you, is that okay? I nod. I would accept any help she was willing to give. My whole body was in pain and sweat was dripping off my forehead and onto the bed sheets. She disappears for a moment. The nurse is still holding our baby girl, watching the proceedings. Dr. Renee comes back and sits down. "All right, honey, with the next push, I'm going to use these forceps to help, but you still need to push," she warns me. I nod. The next contraction hits and I bear down, automatically, screaming loudly, as Dr. Renee uses the forceps to help me give birth to mine and Kai's son. I collapse back on the bed, Dr. Renee checking the baby's vitals, while the nurse approaches the bed with our daughter, holding her out to Kai. Kai gingerly takes our daughter into his arms. I peer over with tired eyes. She's beautiful. Her complexion is a perfect porcelain color, her eyes are a stunning blue color and she has a small amount of blonde fuzz on her head. Her little fingers touch Kai and he looks absolutely stunned, cradling her close to his chest, blinking back tears from his eyes. He was in love immediately with her. "Do you want to hold her?" he asks me softly, and I sit up, reaching my hands out to take her. He gently places her in my arms and I stare down at her in awe, looking at the most precious thing I've ever seen. She's adorable, so tiny, and yet perfect. She has little wrinkles on her fingers and toes. She takes my breath away. Dr. Renee comes over with our son in her arms, a wide smile on her face. "Would you like to hold him?" Kai eagerly reaches out for him, showing him to me as he holds our son. He looks a lot like Kai, his hair definitely darker than blonde, with big brown eyes. His skin is slightly darker, not by much, but enough that it's not a porcelain complexion. He's slightly bigger than his sister as well. Kai is enamored with him. "I can't believe it, a daughter and a son," he murmurs to me, cradling the baby boy and smiling lovingly down at him. "Winter, how would you like to get cleaned up, while Daddy here watches over the babies?" asks Dr. Renee kindly. "I would love nothing more than to get clean, with a shower and fresh clothes instead of the hospital gown." The nurse wheels in 2 bassinets for the babies and I reluctantly put down our daughter. "We'll put fresh sheets on the bed for you while you shower," Dr. Renee says, helping me out of the bed and steering me to the bathroom. "Now can you shower by yourself or do you need help?" There's a shower seat in the bathroom, so I figure I'll be fine. "I'll shower on my own," I tell her as she fetches my toiletries bag with clothes for myself in it. I take it in and then get undressed shakily, taking a quick shower. I can distantly hear the sound of my children crying in the room. I dress slowly, putting on pads with my underwear, but feel surprisingly refreshed now that I was clean. I slowly walk back into the room and see that the bed has been remade and that Kai is looking slightly panicked. I climb onto the bed and Dr. Renee approaches me. "I think they might be hungry," she says quietly. "Would you like some help getting them positioned?" I accept the help gratefully. Dr. Renee brings over a pillow along with my son, helping him to lie down towards me. "What are the names you two chose for them?" asks Dr. Renee, grabbing hold of her clipboard. Kai and I glance at each other. "Scarlet for the girl," I answer. "Her middle name is Harmony." "Rohan for the boy," Kai says with a grin. "Middle name Langdon." Dr. Renee smiles. "I'll get your birth certificate prepared then. Would you like me to send in the people in the waiting room? They're getting mighty impatient to see you and the babies," she jokes. I laugh out loud. "Yes please." Scarlett and Rohan continue to suckle, clearly hungry. Within minutes my brothers, Langdon, Millie, and Jinx are entering the room. "Is that the babies?" asks Millie in a whisper to Drake. He picks Millie up so that she can see a little better. "See, a baby girl and a baby boy," he points out. Damien reaches over and tentatively gives me a hug, trying not to crush his niece and nephew. Langdon shakes Kai's hand. "Congratulations," Langdon tells him and me, a wide smile on his face. "What are their names?" asks Jinx, by my elbow. "Scarlet Harmony and Rohan Langdon," I answer. Langdon is silent for a moment, looking touched. I swear I saw him blinking back tears. His voice is gruff when he speaks. "You named one of them after me?" he asks Kai. "You're my best mate, so of course I did. Not to mention they are going to be your niece and nephew. I want you and Damien and Drake and Simon to be the godparents." Kai answers. "Winter too, of course." They all look moved. "It would be my honor," Langdon says enthusiastically. "Mine too," Drake says. Simon looks slightly overwhelmed. Damien just nods, looking like he's about to cry. "I know we've come a far way since we were younger, and we've grown as brother and sister on this journey." All of them gaze at their niece and nephew. I can't help it, but yawn as tiredness overtakes me. "I think we'll take our leave and visit again tomorrow," Langdon tells us, "when you're a little less tired." They all offer their congratulations and then file back out the room, Millie and Jinx waving wildly. I laugh. "They are so beautiful, and so are you," Kai tells me, staring in awe at the babies who were still suckling greedily at my chest. "You know our life is about to change completely," I warn him, leaning back against the bed, careful not to shift the babies. He grins. "I wouldn't have it any other way," he boasts. "I love you and I love them. For now and forever," he promised, meaning every single word. "I love you too," I told him, "and I'm ready for what life's about to throw at us." Life became chaotic and a handful, but we wouldn't have had it any other way, living like the family I had always dreamed of having. Damien, Drake, and Langdon ended up adopting Millie and Jinx for their own. They were unable to locate any family members, unfortunately, but the children adored them and they ended up being a perfect little family, loved and cherished by their fathers. Eventually, Langdon married both Damien and Drake, in a beautiful ceremony that Kai and I attended. Millie was the flower girl, of course, and Jinx was the little ring bearer. They also ended up becoming foster parents, adopting several orphans over the years and extending their family. Simon lived with Drake and Damien until he grew old enough to travel, deciding he wanted to travel the world as a backpacker at age 18. I spent a lot of time with him, but he adored living with his older brothers and helping them with the children they fostered, as well as Millie and Jinx. When he came back, he helped with training pack members as his job, hoping one day to meet his mate and have a family of his own. Eventually he did, his mate Lacey, a stunning girl who visited with her father and stayed. Simon had children of his own and they too stayed at our pack. Jonathan and Willow eventually tied the knot and started a small family. Unfortunately, his mother never accepted Simon, and Jonathan was forced to visit Simon here, on the odd occasional visit whenever he could spare the time. Something that as an alpha was increasingly difficult. His relationship with Simon was good but not as close as Simon would have liked, not that he blamed Jonathan for it. King Axel and Sarah started a family at the castle, but only after taking several trips to different countries and traveling between each pack. The last I heard, they were planning on getting married but had yet to do it. I wished them all the happiness in the world. After his debacle with Vanessa, he more than deserved a loving mate and family. The end. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.